Hello, welcome to World on a String Designs. So I'm here to reveal the January 2026 finished socks and also open up the bag for the February socks. And you might remember the socks for January were the Turvey-Topsy socks, and that pattern is by Ann Hansen. And I had a gradient dyed yarn, and I think that was Desert Vista Dye Works, in the color pink lipstick. So I'm going to put a picture up to show how that went at first. And actually, let's put some pre-recorded footage in here to sort of explain and demonstrate what happened. I'm here with a mid-month update, and I'll probably combine this with the monthly footage. But I wanted to kind of explain what happened this month. So the yarn for January 2026 is Desert Vista Dye Works Viso yarn in a gradient colorway called Pink Lipstick. And the pattern is the Turvey-Topsy socks by Ann Budd. And I was going to do it toe up so that you get the full gradient effect on the socks, and I could just keep going till I ran out of color, just to make sure that I got all of the color changes in there. I want to show you what the sock looks like now. And I think you can kind of understand why I'm not very happy with this. So this is a really stark change in color. And there are, I mean, if you look closely, you can see there's like a color change here. I can see where, like where these lighter patches are. They're at regular intervals, so that sort of tells me that that is where the color changes are meant to happen. But it looks sort of like we have 3 in a row that didn't change color. And then you can see here is another color change. And I did do this yarn in another gradient colorway a long time ago, and I had bought those skeins at the same time, and that was like a blue colorway. I'll put a photo up of those socks. Those were my poly socks. And I have to think this was just a mistake. I think maybe what happened is when the dyer was dyeing the yarn, there were perhaps like different cups or jars with different amounts of dye, and I almost wonder, like, say if this was supposed to have, like say multiples of 5 milliliters of dye, for example, maybe this one was supposed to have 5, 10, and 15, and perhaps it got put into the opposite cups so that you had, 10, 10, and 10 instead of what was meant to happen. But I don't think this was on purpose. This doesn't look right to me. It doesn't really look like a gradient. And I've been thinking about what can I do with this yarn to still use it in a way that I am happy with it. And then of course I've not been very pleased with toe-up socks. And as a reminder, this pattern is available, you buy the pattern and it comes with instructions for both toe-up and cuff down. So my plan is to unravel this. And this is take the needles out. This is the remainder of the sock yarn. I don't know if you can really tell. Everything looks washed out when I'm recording it, and I can tell when I'm editing how the colors look. But this sort of looks a little more gradual from what's left for the ball down to where this darker color changes. So I've been kind of thinking, I plan to unravel this. I'm going to start with the lighter end and go cuff down. I'm still going to do these socks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this darker bit, and I'm going to use that for heels and toes. And I think that will look really nice, actually. So it'll still be a little bit of a gradient. They won't be as tall as, I don't really need them tall, that's fine, as if I use the whole skein. I will probably have a little bit left over, but it'll be the stuff that's the same color at the end. So I think that is a good way to use up the yarn and use it in a way that I will love it, because I'm not really loving this. Like I said, I think it was probably just an honest mistake, and that we all make mistakes, and that's fine. But I'm not going to be excited to wear these socks because they're just not kind of what I had planned. So I will rework this, and then I will be back in February, which is probably when you're watching this, and I've combined the footage, and you'll see how they came out, and hopefully they look spectacular. So let's have a look and see how it went, shall we? Okay, so I did not continue with those socks that way. So I unraveled this sock, I knit from it, and then I think I described my plan. So we're doing the contrasting heel and toe with the darker portions, and then the parts that are a little more lighter with gradual color changes are going to be the main part of the sock. So that is complete now. So I have the socks to show you. And I also did these cuff down instead of toe up. The whole premise of doing the toe up was to get to use all the color, but since all the color didn't really flow very well, I decided that wasn't necessary. So here's the other sock. Now, what I liked about this pattern, you can kind of see there's a little tiny cable detail in there that goes into the ribbing. So I thought that was a really nice touch. And then the way Ann Hansen writes her toe patterns, let's see if you can get a good look at that. Instead of just doing the same slope of decreases at the toe, so you're not, instead of doing a decrease every other row for the entire toe until you get to the number of stitches you need, she does that for a while, and then she increases the slope so you get a little more rounded toe. So I like the way the toe looks. I haven't tried it on my foot yet, but it looks like I would enjoy the way that it fits. So those were some positives of what I enjoyed about it. So what didn't really work well, I'm very much a matchy-matchy person with my socks, so you can kind of tell color changes on these. It's still a little bit of a stark difference there, right? Like right in here. And I don't really love that. I think it's doable with these socks with the darker toe and heel. And the other thing I found was when I knit the second sock, I didn't have the same length of color. So this was the one I did first, and then when I did the second sock, I actually ran out of this shade before I finished. I needed like 2 more rounds, and I had probably 2.5 inches left on the other sock before that color changed. So there was a lot more of the darker color. It just was like the length of the transitions didn't match up. So basically what I did is I took the extra from one sock and I knit it into the other one. It was just more ends to weave in. Another thing that I did different on this from the toe up sock that I had started was in that video I think I showed where the color transitioned, there were lighter patches, and I did decide to cut those out for these, and I'm a lot happier with the way it looks. And the only thing is it was more ends to weave in, which is annoying when you're weaving the ends, but other than that, it's not really a big deal. So these are the Turvey-Topsy socks. The pattern is by Ann Hansen. The pattern has instructions for both toe up and cuff down socks. So if you wanted, you could do one cuff down and one toe up, and not, if you're the kind of person who suffers from second sock syndrome, you could kind of bypass that a little bit perhaps by feeling like you're knitting a different sock than you are, and then you have 2 socks when you're finished. So that's it for January. Here's the bag for the February socks. Let's see what we have. This is Miss Bab's Yummy yarn. This is a 2-ply superwash. And it is 100% merino wool. It does have, I think you can kind of see there, it has a fair amount of twist. So hopefully it will hold up well for socks. At this point though, I have so many socks in my drawers, like literal dozens and dozens of, I have 2 drawers full of socks. I can't fit them in one. They don't get used much in rotation, so they tend to last longer. But yeah, we'll give this a try. Very few socks that don't have some type of nylon or stronger fiber in them besides just merino. But we'll give these a try. And the pattern is the Skype rib socks. And you can see this was going to be a vanilla and I changed my mind. So Skype rib socks, I'll put a pattern photo up in this lovely shades of gray, and we will see at the end of the month or the beginning of next month how they turned out. So maybe take a moment to throw a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel, and if you hit the notification button, you'll be the first to know when these socks are done so you can come check them out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.